In the last video we finished exploring the north and that incredible viewpoint over Ninh Binh. At the end I promised you something new, a completely different part of the country. So today we leave the north behind and travel into the center of Vietnam. And we start with one of the memorable parts of the whole trip, the train. A cemetery that looks like a city of places, a mountain full of some of the rarest monkeys on earth, a dragon that breathes fire with a real lightning behind it. This was one single day in central Vietnam. Vietnam is famous for its main railway line. It runs all the way from Hanoi down to Ho Chi Minh City in about 36 hours. We didn't go that far, but we did spend 13 hours on the train, down to a city called Hue, where we arrived late at night. And the ride itself turned into something special, because all through the journey, people kept coming over to talk to us. We heard so many stories, met so many people, that by the time we arrived, we only had energy for only one thing, a dinner. By the way, there is a funny saying about Vietnamese trains. They are never really on time, but somehow always arrive. And honestly, that fit our whole experience perfectly. Hue itself is a former imperial city with a lot to see. But this time we sadly didn't have the hours for it because we had a different plan. The most beautiful section of Vietnam's railway is supposed to be between Hue and Hoi An. We would have missed it in the dark anyway, so instead of the train we hired a private driver, with a route we had planned in advance. That way we didn't just follow the coast, we also went up into the mountains, all the way to the highest peak, where the city of Da Nang and the most famous resort area, the region, spread out below us. But our first stop was a cemetery. I don't think I've ever visited a cemetery on a trip before. But the famous City of Ghosts is nothing you skip. The An Bang Cemetery near Hue doesn't look like a cemetery at all at first. It looks like a mini city, full of places, temples and grand villas. The strange part is that these are actually tombs. There are several thousand huge family mausoleums here, with colorful mosaics, dragon decorations, pillared halls and pagodas. Some look like a small castle. In Vietnamese culture, honoring your ancestors is extremely important. For many families, these tombs are the last way to show respect, gratitude and the success of the family. And they pay unbelievable amount for it. A tomb here can easily cost a six-figure sum in euros. Now, the average salary in Vietnam is around 350 euro a month, so the obvious question is, how is that even possible? But the answer is simple. Vietnam has rich people too. But we also see several tombs that were only half finished, because the money had run out. Many families sacrifice almost everything to build a worthy resting place for their loved ones. After the slightly creepy but honestly beautiful cemetery, we stopped at the Choi Mi Loi market. It's a huge market, and because it's completely unknown and far from the tourist routes, almost no foreigners ever comes here. And nowhere else did we feel that so strongly. The moment we walked in, it was like life stopped. Everyone looked at us. A pretty strange feeling. But then we experienced exactly what we had experienced everywhere in Vietnam. The people are friendly and helpful. I bought some seriously hot chilies. And we saw also things I don't necessarily need to see again. I knew that frogs are eaten in this country, but at the market they were selling the very fresh version. They basically had a dozen of them right up to my face like, look, this is really tasty. And now I have no problem with snakes, spiders or pretty much anything. But frogs are my kryptonite. The sight hit me so hard that I skipped the lunch completely. But on the way to our next stop, we pulled over at a small café in the middle of nowhere. And this is where I got my first real price shock of the trip. We ordered 2 iced coffee, 1 iced matcha, 3 teas and a Red Bull. And all of that together cost about €2. I paid, turned around, and it really hit me. The cities are already cheap from a European view, but out in the countryside, everything is on a whole different level. Our next big stop was the Hoi An Pass, one of the most famous mountain roads in Vietnam. If Vietnamese roads had a Hall of Fame, this pass would be in the front row. It sits between Da Nang and Hue, and for centuries it formed a natural border between northern and southern Vietnam. At its highest point stands Hai Quan, a historic stone gate and fortress, built in 1826 by Emperor Minh Mang, one of the most famous rulers of the Nguyen dynasty. From there, we drove out onto the Son Tra Peninsula. It reaches into the sea northeast of Da Nang. Its highest point is almost 700 meters, it's surrounded by water on 3 sides and connected to mainland in just one spot. That created a special microclimate and an unusually rich wildlife. It's home to one of the tallest Buddhist statues in the country, the 67 meters Guan Yin, the female Buddha. But the place has another more famous name, the Monkey Mountain. And not without reason. One of the rarest primates in the world lives there, the red-shanked douc langur. Our legs were already completely done, and we thought we definitely wouldn't see any. Then we reached a wooden area next to a small pond, and suddenly a whole group of them was just chilling there. But one warning if you ever go. The monkeys can be aggressive. If you carry anything shiny, they get very interested and they will absolutely try to take it, even with a bite. Next, we visited the Marble Mountains. We spent almost 2 hours, climbed several hundred steps, and at the same point, we were literally climbing through caves. But it was worth it. The view from the top was beautiful, and the whole mountain is laid out like a garden, full of statues and sites. The place is made up of 5 separate limestones and marble mountains, and they symbolize the 5 traditional Eastern elements: water, wood, fire, metal, and earth. For centuries, these mountains served as a religious center. Buddhist monks built temples and shrines into the natural caves, so it's a religious monument and a natural wonder at the same time. And maybe the most spectacular part isn't even the view. It's a Buddha statue carved into a giant cave. The cave itself is 30 to 40 meters high, and the atmosphere in there is just incredible. After all those exhausting climbs, we finally arrived in Hoi An, where our hotel was. We got there just after sunset, and honestly the plan was simple. Dinner, plan the next morning, and sleep. The plan for the next day was to drive into Da Nang in the evening and watch the famous fire-breathing Dragon Bridge. And then we noticed something. The bridge only breathes fire on weekends, and it was Saturday evening, so if the weather turned bad on Sunday, we'd miss it completely. Quick decision, we are going to Da Nang tonight. So we ordered a Grab and headed for the bridge. But on the way, a heavy thunderstorm broke loose. We told the driver to drop us off somewhere near the bridge where we could eat. By now, it was raining so hard that the streets were slowly going underwater. We jumped out of the car and ran straight into the nearest place. A simple street kitchen. And honestly, we didn't want to have dinner there, but even walking to the building next door would have soaked us completely. While we were talking, a German couple came over to us. They'd heard us speaking some German dialect, so Swiss German, and thought they'd say hello. And they praised the food there so much that we stayed. And how good it is? that we did. Once again, pure chance led us to a fantastic place. But it still wasn't everything. 5 minutes before 9, before the show, the rain stopped. Within minutes, the square in front of the bridge filled with people. The show could begin. And should I mention that our lucky streak wasn't over yet? In the background, lightning flashed across the sky, exactly in the moment the dragon started breathing fire, and exactly in the moment I pressed the shutter. This is one of those pictures you can plan, you can only catch them. And on this special evening, we did. After the lucky night, we went back to the hotel, and instead of planning anything else, we basically fell straight into bed. So, that was our arrival in central Vietnam. A 13-hour train full of strangers who became a good company. A cemetery like a city, a market where life stopped when we walked in, a mountain pass with centuries of history, rare monkeys, a Buddha inside a cave, and a dragon breathing fire under real lightning. The north gave us a quiet nature. The center on one day gave us a drama. And it wasn't done with us yet, because the next morning we drove up into the mountains, to a bridge held in the air by 2 enormous hands, and after that an ancient temple city deep in the jungle, and an old town that turns magical after dark, lit by thousands of lanterns. That's the next video. If you are enjoying this series, subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the Golden Bridge. Peace.